Have you ever stood in your garden, looking at two cucumber plants side by side, and wondered why one is thriving like a tropical jungle, while the other looks like it is just barely clinging to life? They both get the exact same 6 to 8 hours of glorious morning sun. You water them from the very same hose at the exact same time, and you planted them in what you thought was identical garden soil. Yet one is bursting with bright yellow blossoms and tiny prickly baby cucumbers, while the other is stunted, pale, and dropping its flowers before they can even think about setting fruit. Most gardeners don't know this, but the answer to this frustrating mystery almost never lies in the parts of the plant you can see. It is not about the leaves, and it is not about the stems. The real secret of gardening success is hidden entirely out of sight, down in the dark, silent world of the soil, specifically in a microscopic zone known as the rhizosphere. This is the narrow region of soil directly influenced by root secretions and populated by billions of active microorganisms. When this biological metropolis is bustling with life, your plants can easily absorb every single drop of water and nutrient they need. But when this microbial world goes quiet, your cucumber plants begin to starve, no matter how much fertilizer you throw at them. If you look closely at your struggling cucumber plants, they will actually tell you exactly what is going wrong beneath the surface. Have you noticed the lower leaves of your vines starting to turn a pale, washed-out yellow, while the veins remain faintly green? Or perhaps the very edges of the mature leaves are beginning to look scorched, dry, and brown, curling upward like paper exposed to heat? These are classic desperate distress signals. The pale yellowing often points to a lack of nitrogen or a general inability of the root system to draw up basic nutrients, while the scorched, curling leaf margins are a textbook sign of severe potassium deficiency. When a cucumber plant enters its critical flowering and fruiting stage, its demand for potassium and active soil biology skyrockets. Cucumbers are, after all, mostly water, and potassium is the primary element that regulates water movement, cell pressure, and nutrient transportation within the plant's vascular system. Without it, the plant simply cannot support the heavy, water-rich fruits we love to harvest. If you do not address this silent hunger early on, the plant will make a drastic executive decision. It will abort its blossoms to save its own life, leaving you with nothing but bare vines and empty salads. Fortunately, there is an old-school, highly effective gardening secret that has been passed down through generations of master growers, and it relies on two incredibly cheap, everyday ingredients that you might already have in your kitchen and fireplace: active dry yeast and clean wood ash. This is not a chemical quick fix that damages your soil over time. Instead, it is a powerful, organic, biological booster shot that wakes up the sleeping microbes in your soil, unlocks dormant nutrients, and delivers a massive dose of natural potassium directly to your plant's thirsty roots. Here's where the real secret begins. By combining the biological activation power of yeast with the mineral-rich punch of wood ash, you create a beautiful, synergistic relationship in the root zone. The yeast does not just feed the plant, it feeds the soil food web, which in turn feeds the plant. Meanwhile, the wood ash provides the raw essential minerals that the activated microbes can easily break down and deliver to the roots. It is a perfect loop of natural nutrition. Let us break down exactly how to prepare this remarkable soil amendment, step by step, so you can witness this incredible transformation in your own backyard. To begin this process, we need to understand the incredible biological powerhouse that is dry yeast. Most people know yeast as the simple ingredient that makes bread rise or ferments their favorite evening beverages. But to a seasoned organic gardener, yeast, specifically Saccharomyces cerevisiae, is a living, breathing colony of beneficial, single-celled fungi. When introduced to the soil, these microscopic organisms act as powerful biostimulants. They produce natural plant hormones, including auxins and gibberellins, which actively encourage rapid root elongation and branching. Furthermore, as yeast cells live and eventually die in the soil, they release a treasure trove of proteins, amino acids, and B-complex vitamins that stimulate the native, beneficial bacteria already present in your garden bed. To wake these dormant cells from their deep slumber, we must create the perfect environment for them to activate. Start by sourcing a clean, wide-mouthed glass jar or a deep container. Pour exactly 1 liter of clean, chlorine-free water into the jar. The temperature of this water is absolutely critical to your success. It must be mildly warm, sitting comfortably between 35 and 40 degrees Celsius, which is roughly 95 to 104 degrees Fahrenheit. This is the step many people skip or get wrong, often with disastrous results. If your water is too cold, the yeast cells will remain stubborn and dormant, sinking to the bottom of the jar like tiny grains of sand. But if your water is too hot, anything above 110 degrees Fahrenheit, you will instantly scald and kill these delicate living organisms, leaving you with nothing but a jar of useless, sterile water. A good rule of thumb is to test the water on the inside of your wrist. It should feel pleasantly warm, like a baby's bathwater. Once your water is at the perfect temperature, it is time to add the yeast. Take approximately 10 grams of active dry yeast, which is roughly equivalent to 1 tablespoon, and gently sprinkle it over the surface of the warm water. At this point, the yeast is awake, but it is incredibly hungry. To give these microscopic workers the initial burst of energy they need to multiply and build a strong colony, add 1 tablespoon of granulated white sugar directly to the mixture. The sugar acts as a simple, easily digestible carbohydrate source, fueling the yeast's metabolic processes and kickstarting the fermentation cycle. Using a clean wooden spoon or a glass rod, stir the mixture thoroughly. You want to make sure that both the yeast granules and the sugar crystals are completely dissolved, leaving no clumps stuck to the sides or the bottom of your jar. Once everything is beautifully incorporated, place the jar in a warm, dark, and well-ventilated spot in your home or garden shed. Let the mixture rest undisturbed for about 2 hours. What happened next surprised me the first time I ever brewed this mixture. Within just 30 minutes, you will begin to see tiny bubbles rising to the surface, creating a delicate, creamy layer of foam. By the end of the 2 hours, the solution will have transformed completely. It will have a distinct, pleasantly yeasty, bread-like aroma, and the liquid will have taken on a slightly cloudy, viscous appearance. This is the visual proof that your yeast is alive, active, and ready to go to work in your garden. However, before you run out to your garden beds with this freshly brewed mixture, we must discuss a crucial step: dilution. Because this fermented stock solution is incredibly concentrated, pouring it directly onto your plants can overwhelm the delicate soil ecosystem and potentially dehydrate the sensitive hair roots of your cucumbers. To prevent this, we use a strict dilution ratio of 1 to 10. Take exactly 100 milliliters of your active yeast stock solution and mix it into 1 liter of clean, room temperature water. Stir this diluted mixture once again to ensure the active yeast cells are evenly distributed throughout the entire volume of water. This ensures that when you apply it, every square inch of your root zone receives an equal share of this biological booster. Now that our biological yeast solution is prepped and ready, we must turn our attention to the second half of this powerful gardening duo: clean wood ash. For centuries, wood ash was the primary source of agricultural potassium, so much so that the very word potash originates from the old practice of leaching wood ashes in iron pots. When hardwood is burned completely, it leaves behind a fine gray ash that is incredibly rich in essential plant nutrients. It contains high levels of potassium, which is vital for flower production and fruit quality, as well as significant amounts of calcium, which prevents blossom end rot and builds strong plant cell walls. It also contains magnesium, which drives chlorophyll production, along with a wide array of essential trace minerals like iron, manganese, and zinc. However, wood ash is also a highly alkaline substance containing large amounts of calcium carbonate. This means that while it is an outstanding natural fertilizer, it must be treated with deep respect and used with a gentle hand. If you dump piles of dry wood ash directly onto the base of your cucumber plants, you will instantly spike the soil pH to dangerously alkaline levels. This sudden chemical shock will lock up other essential nutrients in the soil, such as iron and phosphorus, making them completely unavailable to your plants. It can also chemically burn the tender, shallow roots of your cucumbers, causing the plant to wither and die. To apply wood ash safely and effectively, we must first prepare the soil around our cucumber plants. Cucumbers have a very unique, shallow, and highly sensitive root system that spreads horizontally just beneath the soil surface. Before you apply any amendments, take a small hand fork or use your fingers to very gently loosen the top inch of soil in a wide circle around the base of your plant. Be incredibly careful not to dig too deep or pull aggressively, as you do not want to tear the delicate roots. This gentle loosening breaks up any hard crust on the soil surface, improving its friability and allowing air and water to circulate freely down into the root zone. Once the soil is loosened, you must thoroughly moisten the area with clean water before applying the wood ash. This is a vital secret that many beginner gardeners overlook. Spreading dry wood ash onto dry soil is a recipe for disaster. The dry ash will blow away with the slightest breeze, or it will clump together into a hard, cement-like crust when you finally do water it. By pre-moistening the soil, you create a receptive, damp environment that allows the minerals in the wood ash to immediately dissolve and distribute evenly throughout the root zone, preventing dangerous localized concentrations of high pH. Now gather a small handful of clean, fully cooled wood ash. Ensure that this ash comes strictly from untreated, natural wood. Never use ash from pressure-treated lumber, painted wood, cardboard, or charcoal briquettes, as these contain toxic chemicals and heavy metals that will ruin your soil and contaminate your food. Carefully spread a very thin, even layer of this ash around the plant, forming a wide ring. The golden rule here is distance. Always keep the wood ash at least 10 to 15 centimeters, or about 4 to 6 inches, away from the main green stem of your cucumber plant. This safety buffer zone ensures that the highly alkaline ash does not come into the direct contact with the sensitive stem tissue or the young, vulnerable roots growing right at the base of the plant. As you can see, we are using an incredibly small amount, just a light dusting that looks like a gentle flurry of snow on the dark soil. In organic gardening, moderation is always the key to abundance. With our wood ash safely in place and our diluted yeast solution at the ready, we are now poised to perform the final, most exciting step of this ancient gardening ritual. Take your watering can filled with the diluted yeast mixture and gently pour it over the ring of wood ash surrounding your cucumber plant. Focus your watering efforts entirely on the soil, keeping the liquid close to the ground. Avoid splashing the leaves of your cucumber plants, as wet foliage in the warm summer months can create an open invitation for fungal diseases like powdery mildew to take hold. As the yeasty water filters down through the thin layer of wood ash, a beautiful chemical and biological dance begins to unfold beneath the surface of the soil. The water instantly dissolves the highly soluble potassium and calcium minerals locked within the wood ash, carrying them deep into the loose, moist earth where the cucumber's roots are waiting. At the exact same time, the millions of active yeast cells we just introduced begin to feast on the organic matter in the soil. As they feed and multiply, they release carbon dioxide and organic acids. These mild natural acids gently buffer the high alkalinity of the wood ash, preventing any sudden harmful spikes in soil pH. Furthermore, these organic acids do something truly miraculous. They act as natural chelating agents. They bind to the minerals in the wood ash and the surrounding soil, converting them into a highly bioavailable form that the cucumber's root membranes can easily recognize and absorb. The yeast cells also stimulate the native mycorrhizal fungi in your soil, encouraging them to form a vast microscopic network that effectively multiplies your plant's root surface area by hundreds of times. This means your cucumber plant can now access water and nutrients from far deeper and wider than it ever could on its own. What happened next surprised me when I first trialed this method on my own struggling cucumber patch. The results became visible just days later, unfolding in a series of beautiful, unmistakable stages. By day 3, the physical posture of the cucumber plants changed completely. The leaves, which had previously looked limp, tired, and slightly droopy under the hot afternoon sun, stood proud, rigid, and turgid, reaching up toward the sky like solar panels. The deep, rich green color began to return to the pale, yellowing leaves as the rush of potassium and magnesium revitalized the plant's chlorophyll production. By day 7, the transformation was even more dramatic. The vine's growth tips, which had been stagnant for weeks, suddenly exploded with new, vigorous green growth. But the most beautiful sight of all was the sheer volume of flower buds. Instead of dropping off and turning brown, the bright yellow male and female blossoms remained firmly attached to the vines, opening wide to welcome local pollinators. By day 14, the first wave of cucumbers began to swell rapidly. Thanks to the steady supply of potassium and the highly active soil biology, these fruits grew straight, plump, and incredibly crisp, free of the hollow centers or bitter tastes that often plague nutrient-starved cucumbers. To maintain this incredible momentum and keep your cucumber plants producing a continuous, heavy harvest of sweet, crisp fruit all summer long, you should repeat this simple yeast and wood ashes treatment once every 10 to 14 days. This consistent schedule ensures that your soil biology remains highly active and that your plants never run out of the vital potassium and calcium they need to sustain their heavy workload. It is a simple, low-cost, and deeply rewarding practice that respects the natural laws of biology, turning your garden soil into a thriving, self-sustaining ecosystem. If you want to unlock the full potential of your backyard garden and discover more time-tested, practical secrets to growing the most abundant, delicious organic produce of your life, take a moment to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and share this video with your fellow gardeners. Drop a comment below to let me know if you have ever used wood ash or yeast in your garden beds, or share your own favorite natural fertilizer secrets. Let's keep learning, growing, and building healthy living soil together. Thank you so much for watching, and happy gardening.